Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Hello friends, today I'm bringing you some quick and dirty novella recommendations. So I've had a request a few times recently to do some more novella recommendations, and I thought I would do this. Now, I have made this video before, and there might even be some overlaps. In fact, I'm sure there is, but you know, it's always good to repeat some of your favorites because you get new viewers all the time. So the way that I'm going to break this up actually is there, in my mind, are a couple different types of novellas, but for this point, we're really going to fit it into two. There are the novellas that are like the start to a series, right? They're meant to tease you or tempt you into one. One of these cases, it's actually the second book in a series, but they're meant to kind of like be an appetite to tempt you in, or an author creates them to be a freebie to pull you in, and it'll give you a taste of what the series as a whole is going to be like, right? Then there's the ones that they completely work as a standalone. You know, you can dive in, you can just read them and it'll be good. And then there's the ones that are just straight up just a shorter written book, right? And they just work for that, right? So mine, I'm fitting those into kind of like two categories because, as I said, there's some of these that are part of a series and they're either book like 1 or 2 and they're used as a thing to suck you in, but they're all still books that I really recommend. Like, these aren't just ones that are going to be the spicy, like corno, as it were. Well, except for 1 or 2, because there's no judgment from me. I'm happy to have them. But I mean, I want these to be ones that you will actually want to take a bite out of and will hopefully make you want to read more by that author or more to the series. So we're going to start with the ones that are like the entry point into a series type of thing, as I said. And then we'll move on to kind of the other ones that are just like shorter, or maybe like the whole series is short books, so it's not necessarily an entry point. So let's start with a few of these that are recents that I really enjoyed. Of course, there is going to be Come With Me by Brooke Montgomery. I'm obsessed with the Sugarland Creek series so far, and there's only 2 books out of it, but this is actually how I started. The author offered a free audiobook for this book. This one is not any direct family member in the series, where the other ones are going to be family members of people. But this one is Aiden, who works at Sugarland Creek, and he had actually kind of like run away from home. I mean, he was an adult, but it really did feel like he ran away from home when he was of age to save himself from kind of an abusive family scenario. And he didn't know that he left behind a child. His girlfriend was pregnant. She didn't know either. And he left no way to contact her. Not because he wanted to, but she said, if you're going to leave, make it a clean break, because this is going to be it. We're done. And her not knowing she was pregnant. So it's been, I think in this one, it's been 10 years, right? He has a 9-year-old daughter, and she finally saw him on like the local, or on a YouTube channel, where this resort ranch that he works at, they do bachelorette parties, and he ended up being on someone's like video. And so she found out by happenstance where he was, because she hadn't been able to find him. And so she'd never been able to tell him. So this is the type of secret baby that Jen's okay with, because there was nothing that either of them could do, and his reasons for leaving were very good, just as her reasons for not being able to tell him, there was no way to tell him. And so with this book, we get introduced to the whole family, and it sets us up very well for a series that I'm loving. And actually, the first full book in the series, I gave 6 stars, so I highly recommend, but you can start right with Come With Me. I don't know if the audiobook is still free. There was a link to it in her Instagram, so if you'd like to try this audiobook for free, you can do that as well. Then we have one that, this one is considered 1.5, and I actually have the first one sitting right behind me, so we'll just show how pretty they are. But this is Secrets at Sunset. This is a Beauville novella. Book 1 was actually Bright Like Wildfire. Like, seriously, I just got this copy in and I couldn't wait to use it in a video. Look how pretty these are. Okay, but anyway, you read this one first, but honestly, you could read this one first as well. So if you want to use this one as an intro to this series, you can. This was a part of a like anthology that Juliet had done, and so now it's printed on its own, and it's so pretty. So this one is between Reed and Anna, and it's his best friend's little sister, And so she shows up needing a secret favor, and he agrees to do it. He's doing some manual labor for her in exchange for cooking and cleaning. And that leads to them like spending a lot of late nights together. And it's finally time for Reed to make his move, because he's been wanting this woman forever, but he's held back because of best friend rules. But you know what? That can only last you so long. So definitely get yourself this one. It's so beautiful. This one's only like 130 pages, and we still have some good spice. All right, then we have Salt in the Womb by Sierra Simone. This is a prequel novella to the Lioness trilogy, and this one is a non-optional prequel, as we're saying. Like, it is technically like book 0 or book 1 in the series. I just talked about this in a monthly wrap-up that I did as well, that I really consider Salt in the Wound. And look, I have this one here too, because I just filmed this video. This is really like point 1 of this book. But this is where we're introduced to Isolde and Mark, who are going to have an arranged marriage after she finishes school. She thought she was going to be a nun, and she's being forced into this arranged marriage with this ex-CIA operative who is now a sex club owner, and she just doesn't want anything to do with it. She wanted to serve God, but she's being forced into this. So we get to learn her history and see what things are like for her during the 4 years that she's waiting to get married to Mark. Then there is one of my absolute favorite series, and this book, according to the author, starts the series, even though for me, I think the series starts with Last Light. But you can read either Last Light or Haven first, in my opinion. But Haven is the novella that starts off the Kindle series. Now, there is actually another novella later in the series as well, but of course, I'm starting with the one that starts it. In this, we meet the town of New Haven, which is being basically run by Jackson and Grace. They have survived the end of the world, and now it's just them and their ragtag group of survivors, and they've created this kind of bastion of safety where they have like a walled town, and they protect, and they now have more resources that they're actually able to share with people in trouble. And so really, this town of New Haven is kind of a center place that all these different survivors like come to at different points. Like, New Haven gets mentioned in basically every book in the series, at least in passing, if not, you know, having other survivors come and stay here. So this is a great place to start the series if you want to start small. Again, I feel like Last Light is a really great place to start as well, and it does cross over with this one as well. But since we're doing a novella rec, this is where I'm starting it off with. And then the last one I want to share that is kind of, I think, works as like an intro to the series if you want, even though this one is also listed as book 2. And this one, is also there. So there's Undertow by Sam Mariano. This is technically book 2 in the Coastal Elites. This series begins with Does It Hurt? I think is the first one in this one. But I found this one unique because the Coastal Elites, I believe, is supposed to be kind of like a high school new adult series. But this one is actually Hayden and Gemma, and they have kids. And when Gemma and Hayden end up meeting each other, which I think she needs a lawyer or something. And so she goes to see him, and now he becomes obsessed with her. And so he kind of like blackmails her into having some dates with him. And then he ends up, because it's Sam Mariano, he ends up kind of pushing her for sex that night. Like, he really kind of steamrolls her into it because, again, it's Sam Mariano and that's what she does. But this also is one of the like sweeter relationships I've read from Sam Mariano at the same time. And it does set up what is going to be the next one in this series, which is going to be, now they're like step siblings because it's his son and her daughter. So now that romance is going to be a step sibling because these parents get together. So it's going to be very interesting to see, especially how already the son is kind of like threatening the girl. And the reason why these two ever even interacted to begin with is because his son was bullying her. Which I think is very interesting. And I guess it's they're neighbors too. No, jeez. Her neighbor steps over the line, and so she goes to him for help. But, it's crazy. It's been a long time since I read that one. It sounds like I need to revisit it when I'm getting stuff wrong. Okay, now some other ones that are part of series but each one of these as is you can do as a standalone. It's not like an intro to the series. Does that make sense? Right? So that's the different. These ones are ones that are like intros to the series, and they will help you taste test the series. These next ones I'm going to do, you can kind of hop into any of these whenever, or they're standalones. Like this. We have A Touch of Taboo from Katie Robert, Your Dad Will Do. This is a series. There's 4 in this series that she's done. Hopefully someday she gives us another one. But these are some books that Katie Robert popped out during the pandemic. And this one, each one of them focuses on a different taboo aspect, but also still heavily revolves around consent. So this one is an ex-boyfriend's dad. And in my opinion, being honest, it kind of started the craze for that, because there ended up being a lot more books that showed up with this. I'm sure it wasn't the point, but it's when I first really became aware of this trope. You know, for each of us, there's always that book that does it. But then I started seeing a lot more of these pop up. And again, it can just be now that my eyes became aware. But this is the first one I heard. She goes to sleep with her ex's dad for revenge. And there's a teensy bit of daddy kink. There's a little bit of naughtiness going on. And it's Katie Robert for you right there. So highly recommend. I really do. I love that. Then we have one that is a complete standalone. This one is Wrong by Adelaide Forrest. Now, as I always do, I do have links down below to all the books that I'm talking about in this video, so you'll be able to go and buy them yourself. This one, you cannot get on Amazon anymore. It has been banned for the non-consensual elements of this. This one is very dark, very twisted, very naughty, but I believe you can buy it on her website or on Eden Books. So I'll have a link to where you can buy the paperback and ebook of this from either of those sites. I'll have it down below. But this one is a dad's best friend, and it begins with him, I mean, we'll just say it, assaulting, non-conning his best friend's daughter when she ends up in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he thinks that she's a woman he set up a date with, because there's this club you can go through. I believe it's the Heaven and Hell Club in this one. I can't quite remember. The Black Hearts Club or whatever it is, where you can set up sexual experiences, and he wanted to set up a consensual non-consent. He wanted to set up a scene, and the woman that he's supposed to do this date with is like late, and he doesn't know that. Instead, he sees her, and it's kind of a wish fulfillment, because he's been attracted to his best friend's daughter for longer than he should have. He's been raising her kind of like an uncle. So again, this is taboo. This is naughty. This is bad. And so when he sees her in the place that his date that he was supposed to have this with, he's like, wow, she's actually into the same dirty things that I am. And so he takes her home, and because this scenario is a non-consensual scenario, like set up, he ends up assaulting her, and he ends up really assaulting her and taking her virginity. And even once he realizes his grave error, he's like, well, now she's just mine for real. I licked it, so it's mine. So absolutely toxic, absolutely disturbing. I don't even know if I could stomach a book like this anymore, but I know it's one so many people love for Adelaide Forrest. But just a few of the trigger warnings for this one are non-consent, which people ask me, what's the difference between non-con? Non-con is essay. Non-con is grape, which we're on YouTube, so I'm trying to be careful. So people ask me, like, what's the difference between non-consent and consensual non-consent? Well, non-consent is assault. That's why it's a trigger warning. Consensual non-consent is when you've agreed ahead of time for a situation to happen, but you still have like a safe word and a way to get out, but you've consented to fight back and still be like taken and everything. Wow, I haven't done the explanation for that in a little while. Somnophilia, which I have made a video about somnophilia as well, but that one involves someone being asleep, either pretending or actually are. Forced pregnancy, stalking, and kidnapping. So this one is full of red flags. I kind of can understand why Amazon banned it, though there are still other books that have it that aren't. Like, Amazon makes no sense for what their standards are, but you can buy this directly from the author, and guess what? More of the money goes right in her pocket anyway, so there's that. Okay, we have a historical to share. This is The Duke's Shotgun Wedding by Stacey Reed. Now, this one does start a series, but you could read these series individually, and most of the books in this series are pretty short as well. So this one is The Scandalous House of Clayton, and this begins with the heroine feeling wronged by the hero's younger brother, and so she shows up at his study with a gun and is threatening to shoot him if he doesn't make, if he doesn't marry her. Is she asking him to marry her or make his brother marry her? Either way, his brother has already married someone else, so he offers himself instead because he needs an heir anyway, so why not her? And he finds her fiery and delicious. So yeah, this isn't my most favorite Stacey Reid I've ever read, but I really enjoyed this scenario. And then the next book, the Scandalous Miss Pepperwell, that one explains how the guy who wronged her, his love story anyway. He doesn't really wrong her, so she's being a bit dramatic, we can admit it. All right, next up we have Gillian Graves' book, Blood Moon. So this one is part of a Strange Moon series, which I'm pretty sure this is the only one that's out in it so far. Although Gillian Graves just recently had another book release. I'll have to see what that one's from. But I love this one. This is a witch and a vampire romance, and it's one that I'm really recommending for the Monster Mash readathon that's coming up. But this one has I think it's a club owner and a bar owner. I'm not sure. But there's a witch who owns one of them, and there is a vampire who helps run the other one. And so they have this clashing, but they end up fucking each other and it being like the best they've ever had. And now they're in a very complicated business situation, so they don't know what to do. And that's all that I'll say about this one. But this one, I think his name is Vlad, and it's Hazel is the heroine. And I love because the author dedicates this book to Angel, Spike, Eric, and Pam. And it just says, bite me. And I love that. So, love it. Then we have some from Lillian Lark. Again, these are ones that are part of a series, but you can read each one individually because they're all like matchmaking romances in her monster her bathhouse monster series. So there's Ensnared by a Werewolf, and there is Found by the Lake Monster. This one was very unique to me. The lake monster and what's going on with this one, fascinating for sure. Then we have two books that I'm very excited to share with you. You can now buy. You can't have the exact edition I have, which I'll explain, but the author has made them available for everyone, and I will have the links down below. So these are two novella-length books that I adore so, so much. We have The King's Spinster Bride and The Half-Orcs Maiden Bride from Ruby Dixon. And I was lucky enough to get these when I went to Book Bonanza. They have a lovely step back in them almost, and I think when you take this off it's just the heroine without it. And these are so beautiful. So the hardcovers are still what is exclusive to those of us who got them at Book Bonanza. These were so beautiful. This one, there's this one, but she has just made the what's on the back of it? What is that? Oh, it's so pretty. She has made the paperbacks available for purchase. So I will have the links to those for you if you want these beautiful copies. But these are both different arranged marriage ones that have a little bit of fantasy elements in them and a little bit of monster in some of them too. So the King's Spinster Bride, I think it's like a barbarian, not like Ice playing a barbarian, but there's like a barbarian king. And it's an older woman who's a spinster, and it's beautiful. And then this woman gets given to an half-orc to make her family, to make an alliance. That's what it is. My brain's not working. This one I think might be a little longer than novella length. Oh no, it's right at it right there. So yeah, there's these two. Now let me check my list. I think there's just a couple that I don't actually own the books for, because those are all ones that I own, which is fun. So there is also, Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. I actually just listened to this. This one isn't really romance at all, but it was a twisted fairy tale retelling that has to do about a twisted retelling of Sleeping Beauty that I thought was really interesting. So I do recommend the audiobook for that. And then I want to recommend Lee Jacot, I don't know how to say it, but they have this whole series of Hollow Knight novellas that take place, some of them on holidays we know, but some of them are weird. Like, I want to read the Labor Day Chronicle. I have it downloaded. There's one that revolves around like Independence Day. There's one that has to do with Halloween, which that's the one that's coming up that you can read, or it's already out, but you can read for Halloween, which is Hollow Night, or The Hollow. I'm not sure. Here's a picture of it. But I've really enjoyed everything I've read in this series so far. They all kind of focus on like some different kinks, but they're also still like cozy reads. I really need to read some more of them. I'm kind of saving them so I can binge them, because that's what I did with like Four Leaf, The Hollow, and another one. I like read them all at like one night and I loved it. So I'm kind of waiting so I can binge more, but you can definitely do that as well. So there we go. I'm going to wrap this up. I wanted to keep this video short if possible, just like the books themselves. But these are some I absolutely love. Oh my God, every time I hold this, I just love them so much. I love them so much. So yeah, just wanted to share some of these for you if you're ever looking for a real quick bite, or, you know, as I said, you want to taste test an author. These are ones that I recommend for doing that, or, you know, taste testing a series before you dive in. I just want to come back to it. Like, Juliet's contemporary books do not get enough love at all. They are just criminally underloved. You know, there's so much about, like, her Stay a Spell series is almost contemporary. It really is. She has paranormal elements, but the way that that family is written and like the issues they have, like, it's written very contemporary. I mean, she does that even better, like, in the, well, not, okay. She does it so well in these as well. So I highly recommend those. But anyway, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, I hope that you liked it. Subscribe to my channel. I put up new videos 3 to 4 times a week. If you'd like a way to support the channel, I do have links to my channel memberships and Patreon down below, as well as like merch and affiliate links, all the good stuff. You know, just trying to get your money any way we can. It's real. It's real. Thanks so much for watching, friends. We'll see you next time. Bye.